Dámy a pánové, jelikož na mým hlavním kanále docela fičou Squid Game videa, máte jich tam docela hodně, můžete se jít podívat, tady se vám teďka neobjevilo, máte odkazy v popisku, nebo ještě na můj hlavní kanál se podívat. Tak jsem si řekl, že jsme i tady na tom vedlejším kanále mohli kouknout třeba nějakého jiného tvůrce, který to rozebíral, a jestli si třeba všiml něčeho, čeho jsem si já nevšiml, a našel jsem tady video, je teda ze zahraničí, dávám tam ale české titulky, a samozřejmě vám to i popřekládám. Minule to mělo docela úspěch, tu zahraniční video, co jsme tady koukali s tím CapCutem, tak jsem si řekl, proč ne, a jdeme se podívat tady na Canadian Lad, což je týpek, co prostě sleduje filmy v 0.25 speed, jakože extrémně pomalu, a všimá si věcí, tak se na to jdeme podívat.
Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and today I'm gonna reveal 11 hidden details from Squid Game Season 2 that I can bet you haven't noticed before. This is part 2 of my Squid Game Season 2 breakdown, but don't worry if you haven't watched part 1, you can watch that video after you're done with this one. So without any further ado, let's begin. Number 1. For the six-legged game, Gi-hun and his team had to wait a long, nerve-wracking 4 hours before their turn.
Hej, nad tím jsem taky přemýšlel, jako jak oni reálně dlouho čekali, než se na tu hru dostali, protože tam těch lidí bylo samozřejmě hodně, hrálo se tam v týmech po 2, tak reálně mě zajímalo, jako jak dlouho to bylo, a 4 hodiny je teda šílený.
Explain how. With 365 players split into groups of 5, that's 73 teams in total.
Okay.
Now each team had
vlastně jednoduchá matematika, že jo, ale tak nechtěl jsem mi to počítat.
5 minutes to complete the challenge. Since 2 teams played simultaneously, that means the total wait time for Gi-hun and his team was 180 minutes or
Jasně, protože šli poslední 3 hodiny.
Jo, there's more. The guards needed extra time between rounds to clean up and collect the bodies.
Jo, no, taky doby, jak dlouho tohle trvalo. Pravděpodobně to pár minut bylo.
So let's add another 1 hour for that. That would mean by the time Gi-hun and his team got to play the six-legged game, they had been waiting for a good 4 hours of...
Hej, 4 hodiny, to muselo být, fakt vemte si, že prostě sedíte 4 hodiny a jste úplně na nervy z toho, co se kolem vás děje, lidi tam znežívají, že jo, a tak podobně, a potom čekáte na svůj turn.
Now imagine the mental toll it must have had on Gi-hun's team, since they were watching people fail and die over and over, knowing their turn was coming. Sure, going last gave them extra time to strategize, but God, waiting for the bodies to be cleaned up before he can go is just torture. This would also explain why Dae-ho was so good at playing Gongi. He probably remastered pebble throwing in those 4 hours, while everyone else was losing their minds. Number 2, when the
Jo no, jakože 4 hodiny tréninku a zase jako nervy.
Recruiter played Russian roulette with the loan shark, noticed that the recruiter actually loaded a dummy bullet. You can
Jestli si to jsme měli i my ve videu, že tam vlastně byla fake kulka, takže to znamená, že oni byli ze začátku prostě v pohodě, on jenom psychicky tak jako trošku nátlak, ale nemohli vlastně tu hru prohrát.
Tell it by looking at the hole at the base of the casing. Here's how it works. That hole that you see is where the primer sits. The primer is a small explosive that when struck by the firing pin, ignites and propels the bullet out of the barrel. Yep. If the primer has already been hit or is missing altogether, the gun won't fire. So in the first round, there was 0 chance of the gun firing. Now in the second game, the recruiter added 3 more dummies, but this time 1 real bullet. You can tell this again as only 1 bullet has a flat base.
Yes. Tohle jsme řešili i v mém videu, takže let's go, všimnu se z toho taky.
The primer hasn't already been hit. That means when the recruiter said they had a 5 in 6 chance of dying,
jsem se ještě díval, kdy to video vydal, a vydali jsme to dřív, ale let's go.
There was actually only 1 in 6 chance of dying.
죽을 확률은 6분의 5.
So why did the
Takže jako to, že to vlastně prohrál, tak to mělo docela jako, smůlu.
Lie about this. My theory is the recruiter wanted to watch them suffer. He didn't want the game to end in just 1 or 2 rounds. Watching their fear and panic was part of his plan. Adding more bullets made both players think death was almost certain, even though the odds were still in their favor. Thanks to Simon for sending me this detail. Number 3. The recruiter died on the couch with his eyes still open. But if you pay close attention a few moments later, when Gi-hun is talking to Cho-yo-sik, notice the actor playing the recruiter blinks. That's Gongi.
Já to jim psali v komentářích na hlavním videu. Jo, tak furt je to jenom herec, že jo, prostě asi už mu vyschly oči.
And it seems like he got a bit tired playing dead and decided to sneak in a blink when the camera
musel si prostě probrknout, no.
wasn't directly on him. But we love him so much much, we notice him even when he's just lying dead in the background. Number 4. In the red light, green light game, Gi-hun's constant guidance and instructions kept everyone calm. And for almost 2 minutes, no one was eliminated. This was frustrating for the frontman, as the game
Já jsem hlavně byl teda překvapený, že oni i ho jako reálně poslouchali, že díky němu teda samozřejmě přežili, ale oni neviděli ještě v ten moment, že ty hry jsou takový, jaký jsou. A byl jsem fakt překvapený, že všichni ti lidi, co tam jsou, že ani jeden z nich prostě to během těch prvních 2 minut neporušil.
sees a massive elimination spree within the first minute. But when player 196 finally gets eliminated, the frontman breathes a
Vlastně ono vlastně až první eliminace byl až ten moment, kdy na něj letěla ta včela. Jinak do té doby ho fakt všichni poslouchali, což mně přišlo jako dost hustý.
sigh of relief and casually takes a sip of his drink. Now here's where things get interesting. If you look closely at the screen he's watching, you'll notice 3 dead bodies on the ground, and that is a mistake, because at
Kontinuity chyba.
that point in the game, only player 196 should have been eliminated, no one else. Number 5. In episode 5, the frontman offers his milk to the pregnant girl, saying, "I cannot drink plain milk."
준 씨도 이거 더 마시고 다음 게임까지 힘내요.
아니요, 저 괜찮아요.
아니 그냥 마셔요. 내가 원래 신우유를 못 마셔요.
Now, back in Season 1, Episode 3, Il-nam said that his son can't digest plain milk either.
OK, tuhle teorii už jsme taky naťukávali, myslím si, že v mým teorie videu a právě, že tam samozřejmě ta teorie, že tady tenhle dědula, který je vlastně byl majitel těch her, nebo on vlastně na konci té první série umřel, ale byl jakože majitelem nebo jakoby z provozovatelů, takže frontman 001 z téhle druhé série je vlastně jeho syn a i proto mají oba 001.
Hey, is there any chocolate milk? I can't drink the normal kind. When I was a kid, I had problems digesting it, so I had to skip milk when I was in school.
My son did too. He was just like you, friend.
This could potentially mean that In-ho, aka the frontman, is Il-nam's son.
Což jako by teoreticky mohlo být, asi bych se úplně nedivil, ale zase potom tady máme, my víme vlastně, že tady ti bráchové jako detektiv s frontmanem, kteří jsou bráchové, jestli si pamatujete, tak oni jsou nevlastní bráchové, že si myslím, že mají stejnou mamku, ale každý jiného taťku, takže by to i vlastně sedělo, že on by to nevěděl o tom jeho otci.
We learned in Season 2 that In-ho and Jun-ho are half brothers. They have the same father. Let me know your thoughts
Tak naopak, sorry, tak to jsem pokazil já, takže mají stejného otce.
about this theory in the comments.
To ale zase potom přijde zvláštní, že by to o tom taťku jako nevěděl vůbec, že taťka je prostě milionář, ale tak záleží, jsou pak jako rozvedení, on třeba nějak neprojevuje zájem o ty děti, no jako asi jo, taky by to asi šlo. Ale bylo by to hustější, kdyby měli každý jinýho otce.
Number 6. While watching Season 2, you might have wondered, did any of the previous winners ever try to stop the games like Gi-hun? And I think the answer is no. Nobody ever attempted to take on the VIPs or the system to stop the games. Only Gi-hun did. Let me explain why. We know the
Jako to mě asi taky nenapadlo, vzhledem k tomu, že proč by to jako dělali, chápeš, ty přežiješ tady tyhle hry jako jediný z 456 lidí nebo z kolika. A dobře máš peníze a můžeš si žít jako dobrý život a třeba zapomenout nebo se nějak jako s tím vyrovnat a dobře, Gi-hun je náš hrdina, ten jako to chce jít zastavit, ale asi se nedivím tomu, že je úplně, že je týpeček první.
games have been running since 1988. So by 2023, that's 15 editions and 15 different winners. But unlike Gi-hun, those winners were cold-blooded killers willing to do anything to survive. And we already know one of those previous winners is the frontman. So who knows how many more of the winners joined and are now part of the game. Think about it. Gi-hun
Jo no, ale teoreticky můžou být i ti VIP, že jo, potom, protože peníze na to mají, aby byli VIP.
journey was defined by sheer luck and other sacrifices. In Red Light, Green Light, Ali saved him at the last second. During Dalgona, his sweat accidentally gave him the idea to lick the honeycomb. In Tug of War, the old man, aka Il-nam, devised the winning strategy. For marbles, Gi-hun was paired with the game's creator. In Glassbridge, he almost went first, but ended up last, which saved him. Even at the end, Sung-woo killed Saebyok and then sacrificed himself during the final Squid Game. Gi-hun didn't win because he was ruthless, but because he's compassionate. He won because of luck, timing, and other sacrifices.
Jo no, to je true, to ani vlastně nedošlo, ale jo.
Even during Season 2, he kept getting lucky with the recruiter, and that's what makes Gi-hun unique. He's an anomaly, someone who wasn't supposed to win but did, and someone who still has empathy. The previous winners, they were killers, hardened by the games with no reason to challenge the system. That's why we've never heard from them and why Gi-hun is the only one bold enough to fight back. Number 7.
OK, takže já bych to teda zhrnul, nevím, jak to úplně stěháte číst. Takže Gi-hun vyhrál vlastně takovou anomálí, že vlastně vyhrál z toho důvodu, protože měl štěstí, nebo mu někdo pomáhal, nebo se někdo obětoval za něj a na rozdíl od těch ostatních výherců předchozích nebo jiných výherců Squid Game, kteří naopak jako byli jáci, nevím, bojím to říct kvůli YouTube, takže prostě vyhráli tím, že byli prostě odhodlaní udělat cokoliv, na rozdíl jako od Gi-huna, který furt byl nějakým způsobem jako empatický.
A lot of you commented on my part 1 breakdown saying I got a detail wrong. So I went back, rewatched, and now I'm here to clarify. The detail was this. In the red light, green light game, when everyone realizes that lives are truly at stake and players genuinely die for breaking the rules, notice how the son immediately jumps into action to protect his mother when green light is called. He quickly shields her, putting himself in front. But later, during the mingle game, the same son abandons her. This small detail highlights how drastically human behavior can change when there's a huge amount of money at stake. So as I mentioned,
A nebo už spíš jako přežití, asi nevím, jestli to úplně jenom o penězích, jako asi jo, jestli samozřejmě jako peníze jsou tam velký motivátor, ale myslím si, že tady to může být i nějakým způsobem o tom přežití.
Part 1, the son abandons his mother during the mingle game. But many of you believe he didn't actually abandon her, he was forcefully grabbed by the 2 other guys. Well, I hear you lads, but I still stand by my take. Yes, at first the 2 guys do grab him and drag him away from his mother, and yes, he does try to resist them, but only up to a point. Because if you look closely, and I'm gonna slow it down for you here, there's a moment where they stop grabbing him. At this point, he could have simply run back to his mother, but instead he gives up resisting, turns his back on her, and willingly walks into the room to safety. For me, that's a clear case of abandonment. So I hope you see the point I'm trying to make here.
Jo, určitě, že vlastně oni ho sice otáhli, ale potom v jeden moment on už se sám rozhodl jít do té místnosti, protože už ho potom netáhli. Takže jo, no.
The recruiter...
Ale nemyslím si, že to je jenom čistě kvůli těm penězím, ale myslím si, že to už je potom nějaký jakoby pud sebezáchovy, asi jeho vlastní.
Is fearless during the Russian roulette with Gi-hun, pointing the gun at himself multiple times without hesitation. But back in season 1, when Gi-hun pulled out a lighter shaped like a gun, the recruiter flinched in fear. At first, this might seem inconsistent, but I think there's a valid reason behind this too. The recruiter was probably reacting how any normal person would in that scenario. He interacts with...
Jasně, tam jakože zase je tam různé okolnosti, jo? Že když se s někým tak potkáte a vytasí to tam na vás, ten zapalovač, co tam měl Gi-hun, tak máte normální reakci, ale potom, když byl on v podstatě pánem té situace, nebo kdy on byl jakoby ten iniciátor, tak se tam projevila ta jeho pravá povaha.
Hundreds of players every year, all at their lowest points. He knows exactly how to manipulate and appear relatable to his targets. And in this case, I wouldn't be surprised if he knew that it was just a toy, but played along to come across as more human to Gi-hun. And who would expect an average guy down on his luck to carry an actual gun? And acquiring a real firearm in South Korea is incredibly difficult for the average person. So his reaction might be part genuine surprise and part calculated performance. Number 9. Notice how Gi-hun never uses an umbrella in the show. In season 1, he was always walking in the rain without one. Even when he went to his ex-wife's apartment, he forgot to take the umbrella back. Now 3 years later in season 2, he's still out in the rain without an umbrella.
Tak tady bych to spíš jako přiřadil k tomu, že on neměl čas si ten deštník nikdy najít, že jo, že prostě vyběhl, protože spěchal, ale okej, prostě Gi-hun nepoužívá deštník.
He seems to have this weird habit of just going out in the rain throughout the series. It's almost like the Dalgona game with the umbrella-shaped honeycomb left him with a lasting impression. Maybe carving out that shape made him see umbrellas in a whole new way. It's also...
Jo, jakože nějaký forma PTSD, že vidí deštník, tak se mu to... vrací, jako těžko říct, jako jo, asi by to mohlo být.
Throwback to season 1,
a to už mě přijde trošičku jako tak trošku přitažený za vlasy.
Said that he always used to forget his umbrella as a kid.
Well, growing up, I'd always lose my...
No a spíš bych to jako teda přiřadil tomu, že když zapomínal už jako děcko si ten deštník brát nebo jako ho mít, tak bych přiřazoval tomu, že se naučil žít bez deštníku nebo ho pořád zapomíná, než že by měl z toho deštníku jako PTSD.
And my mom would get angry. So then she gave me broken ones to bring to school. I always wanted her to get me one of those good umbrellas like the other kids.
It's such a small character trait, and I love how director Dong Hyuk-won kept it consistent across both seasons. Gi-hun and his forgotten umbrellas, it's just so him. Number 10. Back in season 1 during
Jo, tak jak aspoň ten detail jakoby kontinuálně přes celý seriál.
Dalgona game, the umbrella design on the wall was pretty simple. A basic umbrella shape. But the one players had to carve out from the honeycomb was much more complex, with extra angles that made it harder to cut out. Cut to season 2.
Jako já si myslím, že ani ten původní nebyl úplně
When
jednoduchý.
Gi-hun dreams about another round of Dalgona, notice in his dream, the umbrella on the wall matches the exact design he had to carve out while
okay.
playing. But in reality, the wall back then only had a basic umbrella design. This
Takže buď je to chybička, anebo to byl už tak náznak pro nás jako pro diváky, že v druhé sérii tady tohle byl sen, protože tam měl přesně ten deštník, jaký jakoby tam reálně byl, ne tady ten jednoduchý.
inconsistency wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. It highlights that Gi-hun is dreaming, and his mind is reshaping the memory based on his own experience. It's also a clever visual clue for the fans to realize that what they're seeing isn't real, and Gi-hun is in fact dreaming. Number 11. The recruiter offers homeless people a choice. Take some bread or try their luck with a lottery ticket. But the show never really explains why he does this or who told him to. Well, I think I figured out the
Já si myslím, že to je spíš taková nějaká jeho pohnutka.
reason. He's doing it because he feels guilty, as his job is to recruit innocent people for a deadly game where most of them die. When they pick the ticket over the bread, it kinda annoys him, like he's surprised people would rather gamble when they're starving. But honestly, that's the point of the whole show.
Asi jo, no, jakože myslím si, že to je spíš ta jeho pohnutka, než že by se cítil provinilý. Ale no, všaký psychopat, abych asi věřil klidně tomu, že on se v tom vyloženě vyžívá s tím, že si lidi vždycky vezmou ten los a ne tu housku.
People often chase the slim chance of a big win instead of just taking the safe option. The recruiter's choice to play this little game
Tak zase jako kdo neriskuje, nevyhraje, že jo, ale jako v tomhle případě, když sedíte hladoví někde na ulici a vyberete si radši los místo toho, abyste si vybrali jako jídlo, tak no.
is him justifying why he's part of the Squid Game. He thinks people would rather risk it all for money than just take what they need. He's not completely wrong, but he's not fully right either. It's like a mini version of the bigger theme of the show. People betting on a lucky break instead of playing it safe. Sure, it's just a scratch card, but it's the same idea. He's trying to convince himself that what he's doing is fine. And if we think about the players, they're not really making a bad
Tady asi úplně nesouhlasím, já si fakt myslím, že to je spíš nějaký jeho jakože bláznové hnutí mysli.
choice either. Skipping one meal for the chance to win big? That makes sense, even for the rich people. You can always skip one meal, but if you win millions, you're set for life. So at the end of the day, the recruiter's just telling himself his actions aren't so bad. And if you think deeply, that's what the frontman believes too. In season 3 though, I think people like him and the recruiter will lose, because someone will always come to pick you up when you're down, whether the bad guys are alive to see it or not. Remember, when push comes to shove, humanity rises. And with that, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, grab the subscribe button and turn notifications on.
Jo, super video. Takže dámy a pánové, dejte si vědět, co o tom myslíte. Byly tady i teorie, nebo detaily, které jsem ve videu já si nevšiml. Vlastně většina z nich tam jako nebyla, takže to je hustý, že tam ten seriál to skrývá tolik, že vlastně 2 videa tam mají jediný stejný přesah v těch kulkách, jinak je to úplně jiný. Tak jo, dejte, jestli vás to bavilo, jestli někdy máme nějaký jiný takovýhle detailový videa a u dalšího videa čau.